Good morning, students. In our applied physics syllabus, your fourth unit is semiconductors. Today we discuss semiconductors. So this is the semiconductors. The total topics in semiconductors are: first one, origin of energy bands in solids. This is also known as band theory of solids. Origin of energy bands in solids, intrinsic semiconductors, intrinsic carrier concentration and Fermi level, intrinsic conductivity. So all these three topics related to intrinsic semiconductors. Determination of energy band gap. So I determine energy band gap of given semiconductors. So this experiment is in your lab also. How we can determine energy gap of given semiconductor using 4-probe method. Already some of the students did this one also. Next one, extrinsic semiconductors and Fermi level. Next, drift and diffusion. How the conductivity takes place in semiconductors. That is given by drift and diffusion. Next, one more very important topic. So number of times in your examinations this one is asked, that is Hall effect. So very important topic, that is the Hall effect. Next to go to direct and indirect band gap semiconductors. Next, one more important topic is equation of continuity. Finally, semiconductor application. So these are the topics in semiconductors which we have to cover. Okay, clear? Next to go to origin of energy bands in solids. Origin of energy bands in solids. This is also known as band theory of solids. So actually this band theory is very useful in determining the electrical properties of crystalline solids. So using this band theory, we can determine electrical properties of crystalline solids. So what are the electrical properties? Those are nothing but conductivity or resistivity. So we can determine the conductivity or resistivity in solids using energy bands. So which materials possess high conductivity or which possess low conductivity and which are in poor conductors, all are determined using these energy bands. So that's why this is known as origin of energy bands in solids. Since this band theory helps or shows how the electrons can move in the crystals. So finally, these energy bands are useful determining the electric properties of crystalline solids, and this shows how electrons can move in the crystal. The movement of electrons is nothing but conductivity. So that's why the conductivity or resistivity is determined or we can identify using these energy bands. Next, come to energy band formation. How the energy bands are formed in solids. So what is meant by a band or energy band in a solid? So this is a atom, single isolated atom. We are considering only one atom. So this is the nucleus and this is the energy level or orbit of the single isolated atom. This orbit is also called energy level, that is E1. So this is a isolated atom. At the center of atom it is called nucleus. Around the nucleus the electrons are moving in certain orbits. This is the orbit of this atom. This orbit is also called energy level, which is labeled as E1. Clear? So in isolated atom the electrons are tightly bound. So these electrons present in this orbit are tightly bound because of the interaction between the nucleus and electron, and have discrete sharp energy levels. these energy levels are called discrete energy levels, and these are sharp energy levels. So if you consider a single isolated atom, we have energy levels. So clearly listen these words. This is called energy level of a single isolated atom. So come to two atoms. So when we take two atoms, two identical atoms brought closer to each other, then the outermost orbits. So this is the outermost orbit of first atom. This is the outermost orbit of second atoms. When these two atoms brought together or close together, then these outermost orbits are overlap with each other. So here the overlapping of energy levels takes place. Once again, these orbits are known as energy levels. So these energy levels are overlap with each other and split into two energy levels, E1 and E2. So when we take two identical atoms, the outermost orbits of these atoms are overlap and the energy levels corresponding to these two split into two. Come again. If you take three energy levels brought together, here also overlapping of orbits or energy levels takes place and they are split into three. So if you take n number of atoms, a solid is composed of so many atoms. So here we are considering n number of atoms. So here the energy levels are also split into n energy levels. So here a set of energy levels which are very close together. So see again, if you take n number of atoms in a solid, then these energy levels also split into n energy levels which are very close to each other. So the set of energy levels which are very close together is called a band. Once again, the set of energy levels which are very close together is known as a band. So in this way, in solids, the bands are formed. Okay, come again. If you take a single isolated atom, we have only energy levels, discrete sharp energy levels. But we take the total atom which is composed of many atoms, total solid which is composed of many atoms, we get a set of energy levels which are very close together because of overlapping of outermost energy levels. The set of energy levels which are close together is called a band. So that's why in solids, instead of energy levels, energy bands are present. Okay, clear? Instead of energy levels, energy bands are formed. So come to number of types of bands. So there are two types of bands, valence band and conduction band, which plays very important role in conductivity. Okay, clear? So there are two types of bands, valence band and conduction band. So these two plays very important role in the conductivity mechanism of solids. So the electrons which are present in the lower energy bands or have no importance determine the electric properties of solids. It's very important. So generally the electrons are filled from lower energy to higher energy. So in the lower energy state, that means 1s, 2s, those electrons has no importance to determine the electrical properties. So how we can determine the electric properties like conductivity, resistivity means the outermost electrons. So those plays very important role in determining the electrical properties which are present in the higher energy bands. Okay, clear? So in the lower energy band electrons, that means filled electrons has no importance, but the electrons which are present in the higher energy band has the much more importance to determine the physical properties. Okay, clear? Hence, we are interested in these two allowed energy bands which are called valence and conduction band. So that's why we are very interested only these two bands which are called valence and conduction band. So what is meant by valence band? The outermost filled energy band is called valence band. The outermost filled energy band is called valence band. So when the electron acquires some additional energy in the valence band, it can leave the valence energy band and becomes free electron and exist in a certain energy level. That band is called conduction band. So generally every atom has energy levels. The outermost energy level is called valence energy level or valence band. When the electron in the valence band gains energy, it gets excited into higher energy level. Those higher energy level or high energy bands are called conduction band. So there exists some gap between the valence band and conduction band. That gap is called forbidden band or energy gap. So these three are very important. One is the valence band. The outermost filled energy band is called valence band, and the next energy band to the valence band is called conduction band. So this is the higher band. Between the valence band and conduction band there exists a gap. That gap is called forbidden band. So this is not necessary to exist gap in all type of solids. In some of the solids only there exists the gap. That gap is called forbidden band. So depending upon the existence of valence band, conduction band and forbidden band, all solids are classified into different types of materials. Once again, depending upon this energy gap or forbidden band, the solids are classified into three types. Okay, clear? So what is meant by valence band, conduction band and forbidden band? Valence band is the outermost filled band. Next to valence band, the band is called conduction band. There exists a gap between valence band and conduction band. That band is called forbidden band. Depending upon forbidden band, all solids are classified into three categories. Okay, clear? Next we go to classification of solids. So this is also important diagram. So this band is called valence band and this band is called conduction band. See this carefully. This band is called valence band. This band is called conduction band. So this is a graph between energy levels, energy and equilibrium spacing. Between the two atoms, the distance between the new center of one atom to center of another atom is known as the equilibrium spacing. If the equilibrium space between the two atoms is more, then there exists a gap between the valence band and conduction band. See this? So there is a gap between valence band and conduction band. If the gap is more, that solid is called insulator. If the gap between the valence band and conduction band, that is called forbidden energy gap, if that is more, that material is called insulator. So when it is happens, when the equilibrium distance is more, when the equilibrium distance is more, then the gap is also more. So this is possible in case of insulators. Let's come to this one. Here the gap is low. When the equilibrium space is reducing, the gap is also becomes low. These type of materials are called semiconductors. So that means the forbidden gap or the energy gap is low. Those materials are called semiconductors. So when the equilibrium distance is reducing, the gap is also decreasing. This is in the case of semiconductors. So when the equilibrium space is reducing, then here the valence band and conduction band overlapping takes place. When the equilibrium spacing is reducing, the valence band and conduction band overlaps with each other. So there is no forbidden gap exists between these two, valence band and conduction band. Those materials are called conductors. Conductors has an example are metals. All metals works as conductors. Come again. So in conductors, the valence band and conduction band overlaps with each other. So that's why there is no forbidden energy gap. This is possible when the equilibrium space is reducing. In case of semiconductors, there exists a forbidden gap or energy gap which is very low. In insulators, the energy gap is high. So this is the graph between energy versus equilibrium spacing. So when the equilibrium spacing is more, the gap is also increases between the valence band and conduction band. When the equilibrium space is reducing, then the gap is also decreasing. So depending upon this diagram, we can classify all solids into conductors, semiconductors and insulators. See this? The band gap decreases with the decrease of equilibrium spacing. We can classify the solids into conductors, semiconductors, insulators based on the parameter forbidden energy gap or energy gap. So all solids are classified into conductors, semiconductors and insulators depends on energy gap. Come to conductors one by one. So already I explained. So these are the filled with electron states. This band is called valence band. This band is called conduction band. So in conductors, the valence band and conduction band overlap with each other. The valence band and conduction band overlap with each other. So in conduction band there exist empty states. So there are no presence of electrons. Always valence band is filled with electrons. In conductors, the valence band and conduction band overlaps with each other. That's why the valence band electrons are easily goes to conduction band and they becomes free. Once again, so because of overlapping between the valence band and conduction band, the valence band electrons easily goes to conduction band and they becomes free. So the free electrons indicates in the conduction band they possess high conductivity. That material possess high conductivity. So whenever any free electron exists in conduction band, that indicates that material possess high conductivity. So in conductors, number of free electrons are possible because of overlapping of these two bands. So that's why the conductors possess high conductivity. Come line by line. For conductors, the energy band structure will be overlapped valence and conduction band. Next one. Due to the overlapping of bands, the energy gap equals to 0. That means there exists no energy gap. That means Eg equals to 0. This one is Eg. Energy gap equals to 0. The electrons from valence band freely enter into the conduction band due to the overlapping. So there is no need of extra energy to move the electron from valence band to conduction band because overlapping takes place in conductors. Due to the absence of band gap, free electrons are available at room temperature. So the electric conductivity in conductors is mainly due to the electrons only. So the charge carriers, that means who carries the charge, those are called charge carriers. Here the electrons which carries the charge, so that's why electrons are called charge carriers. So in this chapter repeatedly one word is coming, that is charge carriers. So what is meant by charge carriers means who carries the charge, that may be either positive charge or negative charge. If the negative charge is carried, those carriers are called electrons. If the positive charge carried by carriers, those charge carriers are called positively charged carriers. Here in conductors, electrons are the charge carriers which are cause for the electric conductivity. Clear? The large free electrons of conductor contributes high electrical conductivity. Next go to insulators. So this is the band diagram. This diagram is called band diagram, energy band diagram of insulators. So the lower end, the low band is called valence band. Above the valence band there exists another band that is called conduction band. Between the valence band and conduction band, if the energy gap is more, that means greater than 3 electron volts, here in the case of diamond, the energy gap is 5.4 electrons, which is very large. So that's why the valence band electron never enters into the conduction band. So that's why always conduction band is empty in insulators. The empty conduction band is always indicates there is no conductivity takes place in the material. Once again I am repeating, the valence band electrons never enters into the conduction band because of the existence of high energy gap. So the conduction band is always empty. So when there is no electron present in the conduction band, that indicates they are very poor conducting nature. Okay, come again. For insulator, the energy band structure consists of well separated valence band and conduction band. The band gap is very high. So even in the presence of external electric field, that means when we are giving external energy to the electron, that external energy is not sufficient to move the valence electron to conduction band. So that's why even in the presence of external electric field, the electrons doesn't enter into the conduction band since they are tightly bound to the nucleus of respective atoms. That means in the valence band, the electrons are tightly bound with each other with the nucleus. So that's why when you give external energy, those electrons are not ready to go towards the conduction band. So that's why there is no conductivity takes place. So no charge carriers are available for electrical conductivity in insulator, hence electrical conductivity is 0. So charge carriers are not present, that means electrons are positive charge carriers also not present. So conductivity takes place only by means of charge carriers. When the charge carriers are moving, that means current is flowing. Current flowing means conductivity takes place. So no charge carriers are available in insulators, that's why the conductivity equals to 0. Come to semiconductors. So this is our topic, very important. So in case of semiconductors, because of the existence of low energy band gap, they show very important properties. Different types of properties are exhibited by the semiconductors because of the low energy band gap, which is in the range of less than 3 electron volts. So always between the valence band and conduction band, the energy gap is low, that is nearly less than 3 electron volts. In case of silicon, which is a semiconductor, the energy band gap is equals to 1.1 electron volts, which is less than 3 electron volts. So in semiconductors, the valence band and conduction band are separated by a energy gap which is very much less than 3 electron volts, very low energy band gap. So that's why if you give external energy, the valence band electron reaches to conduction band. But in case of insulators, that is not possible. This is not possible. But in case of semiconductors, because of low energy gap, the valence band electron moves towards the conduction band when we are giving external energy. So by acquiring that external energy, the electron jumps to conduction band. So the presence of electrons in the conduction band indicates conductivity takes place. So that's why initially these semiconductors acts as insulators, but when we are giving energy, these semiconductors becomes conductors. That's why the conducting properties are lies between conductors and insulators. Come to this. For semiconductors, the energy band structure consists separated valence and conduction band. The band gap is low. When we supply external energy, the electrons enters into the conduction band by acquiring sufficient energy to overcome the band gap. The electrical conductivity may either electrons or holes. This is very important. The conductivity takes place in semiconductor by means of electrons or holes. These two are the charge carriers. Electrons carries negative charge, holes carries positive charge. So the conductivity may be either electrons or holes in semiconductors. But in case of conductors, the conductivity only by electrons. But in case of semiconductors, the conductivity takes place by either electrons or holes. So that's why the charge carriers in semiconductors are either electron or holes. Okay, clear? Next come to semiconductors, some more points. The semiconductors are the materials whose conducting properties lies between the conductors and insulators. So insulators means large gap. That means no presence of electrons in the conduction band. So the semiconductors also at absolute zero temperature acts as insulators. When we are giving external energy, that may be electrical energy, heat energy, then the semiconductors becomes conductors. That's why the conducting properties lies between conductors and insulators. So examples of semiconductors are silicon and germanium. These are the very important examples for semiconductors, silicon and germanium. Intrinsic semiconductors, in semiconductors, the conductivity takes place both charge carriers, which are called electrons and holes. Charge carriers, electrons and holes. Silicon and germanium are elemental semiconductors and they have 4 valence electrons. Silicon and germanium, in the outermost orbit, they contain 4 valence electrons which are distributed among outermost s and p orbitals. Come to the classification of semiconductors. Again, the semiconductors are classified into 2 types. One is intrinsic, which are called pure semiconductors. Another one is extrinsic semiconductors. Intrinsic semiconductors are nothing but pure semiconductors which belong to 4th group in the periodic table. Each semiconductor has 4 valence electrons in the outermost orbit. To get stability, these atoms make 4 covalent bonds with the surrounding 4 neighboring atoms in the semiconductor crystal. Generally at absolute zero temperature, all semiconductors act as insulators. With the rise of temperature, that means we are giving the external energy. Here the external energy is nothing but heat energy. With the rise of temperature, the conducting properties increases in semiconductors. Come to the intrinsic semiconductor diagram. So example, here we are taken silicon. In the outermost silicon, it contains 4 valence electrons. These 4 valence electrons shared by the another silicon atoms which are very nearer to the silicon close, and these valence electrons shared and forms covalent bonds between silicon and silicon. So this is the covalent bond formation. So this silicon contains 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 valence electrons shares with another silicon atom and bond is formed between silicon and silicon. That bond is nothing but covalent bond. So in this way, each and every silicon is tightly bonds with another neighboring silicon by covalent bonds. So there is no availability of free electron. So that's why these acts as insulators. Clear? Extrinsic semiconductors. When impurities are added to the intrinsic semiconductor, then it becomes an extrinsic semiconductor. An extrinsic semiconductor shows remarkable variations in conductivity due to the presence of impurities. The adding of impurities to the pure semiconductor is called doping. So when impurities, so generally intrinsic semiconductors are works as a insulators because all covalent bonds, all electrons are in covalent bond formation. There is no availability of free electrons. If you add impurities to the pure intrinsic semiconductors, then the conducting properties changes. That means there is a availability of free electrons or holes takes place. So then there is availability of free electrons or holes, then the conductivity changes. That's why we are adding impurities to the pure intrinsic semiconductor, then that becomes a extrinsic semiconductor, and the conductivity properties also changes because of the adding impurities. So the adding of impurities to the pure semiconductors, which is pure semiconductor? Intrinsic. So when we add impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor, that process is called doping. Then we get extrinsic semiconductor. Depending upon type of impurity added to the intrinsic semiconductor, the extrinsic semiconductors are also classified into two types. So first of all, to increase the conductivity, we are adding impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor. That process is called doping. Depending upon the impurity which we are adding to the pure semiconductor, again the extrinsic semiconductors are also classified into two types. Those are nothing but N-type semiconductors and P-type semiconductors. Okay, clear? So this is total introduction of band theory of solids and classification of materials or solids and differences between conductors, semiconductors and insulators. Okay, thank you.